Lisa, it is great to be here with you.
Cindy, thank you for having me. I'm so looking forward to our talk today. Our conversation is going to be awesome.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. My name is Lisa Duerre. I am the CEO and co-founder of RLD Group. I am a podcast host, a mother, a daughter, an auntie, a friend, and I'm also a woman who believes that motherhood and career matter. And it matters to the point where it's pretty much a passion of mine when I talk about this. So I'm excited to jump in today to talk about all things work, leadership, career, motherhood, and everything in between.
Oh, fabulous. So you founded RLD Group when your daughter was little. What have you learned from trying to juggle growing a company and parenting? And what's your best advice for other moms who are trying to do both?
Yeah, I mean, this question, we could do 5 hours on what I've learned. I've learned so much. So when we formed RLD Group, I had spent 20 plus years inside corporate, and my mom was in hospice, and I was thinking about legacy, right? It really was reflecting on what is my legacy. So my daughter was very young. My mom was terminally ill, and I decided that it was time to leave corporate, start my own company, and really figure out how we could leave an impact across the industry, not just inside one organization. And the thing I learned really quick, really fast, was how hard it is to start a company when you have a young child. That is no joke, right? I used to think, boy, I worked hard inside corporate. I actually burned out inside corporate. I worked so hard. And running my own firm and growing my own business required a whole bunch of skills I knew I had, but I didn't understand the runway to make things happen. And I would say if I were to look back now, because we're 7 years in, some of the greatest lessons I learned from that time was that everything takes longer than you think. And when you're parenting a young child, they're evolving and growing so much that I wanted to be fully present with my daughter for all those moments that matter and grow this business. And at the time, the biggest gift I could have given myself was a mentor who had already done it before me, getting some advice and some insight, because I was just thinking I'll figure it out as I go. And you don't have that amount of time or that amount of energy when your children are really young. It was a very challenging time.
Mentors are big,
Huge. Yeah.
like enormous, so
Yep.
important. So, what are some other things you wish you had known earlier on?
I think another thing I wish I would have known earlier on was how willing people are to help when you follow your dream and your passion. There was more help available to me than I ever asked for in the beginning, because I really had this like kind of mindset that I should figure it out and I should do it all on my own. So much like when I became a new mom, I asked for a lot of help and learning from other people who had gone before me. I didn't do the same in business early on, and then I quickly learned I should have done that. So I did. I'd say another thing I wish I'd learned earlier was blocking times, whether it's for daycare drop-offs or pickup, or whether it's school holidays or anything in between, because my daughter's older now. In the beginning, I just figured I'd figure it out week by week. And what was the huge gift to me and our team was blocking the time ahead of time, so we knew whether I'm doing drop off or pickup, or whether it's a holiday, where I'm going to be spending my time and what kind of availability I would have for meetings or speaking engagements or coaching engagements. So blocking time was a huge learning that in the beginning I thought if that's all on my calendar, people will think I'm not dedicated to the company. And now I realize, no, I am dedicated to the company and I'm putting it there so we can succeed. That was a huge game changer for me.
It's a total shift in just the way
It
that you
was.
perceive your own balancing act or the
Yeah, for
juggling
sure.
act, I should say, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you had your own burnout experience, which you just referred to, which caused you to take some time off to reboot. So, what signs should women look for, and what should they do if they're starting to notice those signs?
Yeah, my burnout story is pretty when I tell my story to people, they can see themselves so often it almost scares me to talk about it because burnout is so rampant right now. So as I say this, grab a notebook and just see if you can match these symptoms because it's everywhere right now. What happened
Mhm.
for me was I was working on a presentation late at night in the office, and I felt a pain radiating up my arm. And I thought to myself, that's kind of weird. I should that just I had this nudge that I should pay attention to, that my body was trying to tell me something. And I started to Google signs of a heart attack in women because I knew it's different for women than men. And then I thought to myself, if you're Googling signs of a heart attack, you probably should go to the emergency room. Like, let's just not waste our time Googling because clearly something's going on. So I said to my colleague, hey, I'm bringing my laptop. I'm going to go down to El Camino. I'm going to get myself checked out, but I'll be online and we'll get this done. And she said, why are you going? And I said, well, I Googled heart attack and I'm having this pain and I'm just concerned. So she said to me, I'm going to drive you because I don't want you having a heart attack while you're driving. So I'm lining this up to say the first symptom that I had was I was clueless to what was going on. You know what I mean? Like I was so focused on getting the work done. I wasn't in tune with my body and I wasn't paying attention until it was screaming at me. So when I got to the emergency room with my laptop in hand, working on my presentation as they ruled out the heart attack, they couldn't figure out what was wrong, but I was not having a heart attack. So I was in there for 5 hours and we left at midnight. I finished the presentation, texted my boss and said, I'll be there at 9. Right. So I would say the second sign of burnout for me was the fact that I wasn't really open to asking for help. And I wasn't honest with the people around me about how bad things were. And so what had happened, Cindy, was I had an allergic reaction to an antibiotic. And the reason I was on an antibiotic was I had bronchitis for like 6 months and I was tired of coughing. So I kept pushing on my doctor to change my antibiotic. Well, I had an allergic reaction to this one. And I had to figure that out on my own. But the third symptom I would say is that if you have something chronic going on, like bronchitis, right, that means you're not taking care of your body. And if you're pushing to your doctor to just give you more medication, you might be in burnout. And the crazy thing that happened for me when I sat down with the doctor after the emergency room visit is he said to me, you have Silicon Valley-itis. And I'm like, I have no idea what that is. Tell me more, right? I don't even know if Silicon Valley had an itis. And he basically said, in tech, burnout is the number one reason I'm seeing people in my office. So high blood pressure, right? Insomnia, depression, not able to like get the work done like you used to get it done, difficulty decision making. And so for me, what happened is like, I couldn't even find where I had parked my car. And I was having a meltdown one day after work because I had to get to preschool to pick up my daughter before they closed and started charging us, $5 for every minute. And I called my husband and I'm like, I can't find my car. And this was before you could just locate your car in your app, right? So we got a tile and he left one in the car so he could find the car for me. Like if your spouse is trying to help you find your car in a parking lot, you might be in burnout, right? I was cynical. So cynicism is a huge sign, right? They're not going to help me. Nobody wants to help me. They're all stupid. This is dumb. It's never going to get any better. Like when you start to have this lens around the world and the environment that you're in and you can't see the good, you might be in burnout, right? And so it's a chronic stress response where you have fatigue and exhaustion and you are not able to perform in the way that you used to. And I think what happens is so many working moms, we give away our power. We don't have boundaries. We don't ask for flexibility. We just keep trying to act like we're not a mom at work. And when we're at home, we're not a worker. And you just get so fatigued, you can't see the forest through the trees. And so one of the things that we work with our clients constantly is looking at where are you giving away your power? How are you managing your schedule? What flexibility do you have? Where do you have autonomy? And trying to find ways for you to own that back, because we see a lot of leaders, especially women in tech, giving away their power, and that leads to burnout.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty serious.
It's
I want
very
you to
serious.
finish the story for our listeners. And so how did you transition then from that situation? You took some time off.
Yeah, well, my doctor wanted me to take some time off, but I had busy projects and it was very important to me that I saw them through. So I arm wrestled with my doctor and my husband. And he wanted me to go out immediately because my blood pressure was through the roof. I was 100 pounds overweight. There were some real worry signs. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, we have this big customer event I need to run. This is what I do for a living. This is like our premier annual program. And so I convinced him to let me stay for a couple more weeks and then go out. But what happened, Cindy, like most people in burnout, I didn't know how to reboot or shut down or turn off. So I kept working even on a medical leave. Mm-hmm. And my husband called my doctor and said, she's still on her phone. She's not resting. I don't know. I'm very scared. What do I do? And my company didn't know I was still working. But in my mind, it was like, oh, my team needs me. I don't want to let anything drop. I don't want to let anybody down. Mm-hmm. So 2 weeks in, because at first he just gave me like 3 weeks to just see if we could reset. And 2 weeks in, he said, you're not listening and you have a decision to make. What's more important? Did you want to live a long life and be with your daughter? Or do you want to just have this great next event, right? This great next project. So I said to my husband, okay, take my phone and he hid it from me because I knew what would happen.
Mhm.
And he put it in airplane mode so it wouldn't ring. And I said to my team, I'm literally going offline and I'll be
Mhm.
back. And
Mhm.
so I felt broken and embarrassed. I felt ashamed.
Mhm.
I was worried I'd lose my job. I was worried they wouldn't need me anymore because I had built this story in my head that I'm only as good as the latest thing I had done.
Mhm.
But after 3 months, I went in that time, I got a nutritionist and I started an 82-week medically supervised weight loss program. I got a mental health therapist so I could talk to someone regularly about some of these limiting beliefs I had. I
Mhm.
would sleep 6 to 8 hours a day and then sleep at night too.
Mhm.
I got into nature. I would sit outside and listen to the birds. I did a lot of reading and I started working on my values. Like, how did I want to feel? And what are the values that I want to embody to be the best version of me at work and at home? And
Mhm.
so 3 months later, I did go back to work and I started having walking meetings. I told my team my new goals for staying physically active. We started doing celebrations at the beginning of meetings instead of what are the problems we're going to solve. And I
Mhm.
started embodying the values that I wanted to bring as a leader. And it was pretty amazing to see what was possible in the shift I could make and what I could control. And that's what happened.
Oh, I love that. What a great story.
Oh, thank you.
So appreciative of your time and wisdom. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be here.